Yeah, so it really comes down to goals. Like humanity and the climate and this apartment right now and the cooking that you do, these are all complex systems with many moving parts and inner working levels. And what sets those forward, what puts those in motion and the way that they go is the goal that you set out for those things. And so in the case of Western society, we have goals. You talk about economics, and that's what got me started on this. The goal in a capitalist society is to make the most amount of money you can, and in doing so, you create a lot of goods, services, and products that people want to buy, and it's a perpetuating system that allows people to, it's a pretty good system for building a middle class and working from there, but it's ultimately a little bit flawed. And it's the wrong goal, because the goal should be to, presumably, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Right.
Like the goal is to make a good life for your citizens.
And it's a motor that needs a ton of replacement parts.
Right. And so nobody's causing
okay, so I, in a past life, was a university teaching assistant, teaching American history to foreigners in Australia, and the one class that I taught
It's tough to read upside down.
It is.
was the American Dream.
Swim back.
Yeah.
And it was almost strange for me because the class, like unit 1 of the class, was outlining what is the American Dream. Like that's something that we deal with, and is
a big question for
a construct that we understand sort of innately, but I don't think anybody can really put it into words. So trying to explain that to people who have heard of that but don't experience it, you know, they have put it into words, and what they describe it as, what an academic understanding of the American Dream is, the ability to work hard and to be rewarded, you know, in perpetuity for your hard work, with the idea that you will, and this is why I'm thinking about this because it reminds me of our, you know, the earlier part of the discussion, with the idea that you will be able to leave to your progeny a more favorable economic situation.
Well, but it's beyond that. It's like that you do better than your parents.
Right.
That's the other.
I think that's probably how they explain it emotionally.
Well, and you know, like that's part. But part of our system is the ability to accumulate property in some sort of relation to the amount that you work.
But climate change or no climate change, we are already at a point where we will not do better than our parents, and that.
Well,
and
let's
that
not get carried away.
All right. Well, let me take you.
Well, it's happening.
But that's
Unfortunately,
is that coincidental?
No. Climate change is a byproduct, right? Nobody's going out of their way to make climate change. It's just an unfortunate consequence of the way that we get energy. We want energy, it's cheap and easy to do it this way. We're catching on that it's a bad idea, but we're only going to come to terms with that. There are larger systemic problems even than climate change that are going to come into all of this kind of stuff. And you were talking about, I don't want to go there, growth. The big idea behind all of this.
I get that a lot.
The big idea behind all of this, climate change is a byproduct of, even itself, of growth, of human growth. Since we discovered fossil fuels, our population, our resource consumption, our land use, our agriculture, everything has been growing exponentially. And climate change is a byproduct of that, like our energy use has been growing exponentially, and pollution as a result is growing that way too. But the big idea behind all of this is that humankind has this fallacy internalized at this point that we can grow infinitely on a finite planet. So, I mean, if you ask an economist what the goal is every year, and what governments try to do is they try to grow 2, 3, 4% a year. And if you compound that over the next 40 years, take it out to 2050, you're talking about an economy that's 3 times the size of the one we have now. That means 3 times as many trees being chopped down, 3 times as many barrels of oil coming out of the ground, 3 times as much water just to irrigate crops, like 3 times as much stuff. And the footprint that we leave on the planet right now is we're already using more resources than the planet can afford us, than it can reasonably sustain. And if you take what we've got now, which is unsustainable, and you multiply it by 3, it doesn't matter if climate change is there or not. Like, this economic system that we have is going to break down. That's kind of the big idea, is that collapse is coming one way or the other. And we can get busy building a new system.
Wait, but we've had a couple of revolutions in our economy, though, in the past 150 years. Or, well, I mean, at least the 200 years since the country was founded.
But it's never stopped growing.
Well, that's true, but that's the point. Like, things have changed, and we just, like, it's a rough time, and it changes. Like, we readjust.
Sure, I mean, if,
Like, people moved from farms to the cities during the Industrial Revolution. That's how the cities became so big.
yeah.